So your ability to perceive reality is truly defined by what you know. It's everything that you think you know, at least. It's like all of the ideas you have about how the world works, what it's made of, and how it's built up. I mean, all of these things are concepts in your brain that you learn throughout life, and some of them may be objectively fact, and some of them may not be. Like there are many things, many many bits of information and data that we can learn in this life that are completely untrue. It's just a waste of time, and that in and of itself is curious. It's just this random data that exists that serves no purpose and is completely false. It's just sort of made up. It's fabricated. Anyway, so like you can learn of these things. You can learn lies. You can learn false things, and then your perception of reality is then defined by that. And it's also, I mean, if you know objective facts, your perception of reality is defined by that too. It's like what you see when you look out your window. Like you see the street and the trees or the shrubs and the dirt road or the where I don't know, depends on where you live. But when you look out your window and like you see the world, and what you think you see is what you think you know. And it may not be true at all. Like I mean, we have this thing called true and false, and then we're so arrogant to assume that what we know of as true is actually true. Like we could never. I don't know how many of us would be ready and willing to admit that nothing we know is true. That like we don't know anything about what's going on in front of us, and it's all a big fucking lie. Like everything is just a huge mystery, and we're only seeing one small fraction of what's actually in front of us. But turns out that's the case. I mean, according to physicists and according to neurologists, well, not neurologists, brain psychologists, people who study the brain and the optic receptors specifically. It's like what we're able to perceive is like 0.0001% of all known light. Now, I mean, the physicists are the ones who describe and define what known light is. They're the ones who study that. And the people who study the optic nerve receptors in the eyes and just the brain's capability of seeing in general, I mean, they can measure how much light we're able to see versus how much light exists as a whole, like the whole spectrum of visible, well, not visible light, but the whole spectrum of energy and light as a whole versus visible light. It's a razor's edge. Like the whole spectrum of light could span a football field, and what we're able to see is the edge of a knife. And so, based on that, I mean, like what we think we know, if it is true, if we're so arrogant as to assume that what we think we know is actually fact, let's give ourselves a benefit of the doubt there. Maybe we do know what we're talking about on a couple of things. Maybe we do know a couple of things that are actually true about what's going on around us. That's still only a teeny tiny fraction of reality. I think most of reality, most of the universe, the whole of infinity is unknown to us. But what is unknown? Now, I wouldn't say I was an expert on this subject, not nearly, but I do have quite a few ideas about the unknown and what it might be, and what it could be perceived as, how to understand it, I guess. Well, the truly unknown, that which is completely new to the human individual, is indiscernible from that which is known. That means that which we do not know, and when I say what we don't know, I'm not referring to something that is relatively unknown, something that you don't understand, but you're still able to perceive. That is not a true unknown, because you can see it, you can perceive it, you know about it. You may not know what it is, but you know about it. Someone can tell you of it, you can witness it, you can hear it, you can smell it. It's new, but it's there. You can actually perceive it. It's within your awareness. That's not a true unknown. There are unknowns in this universe that are truly indiscernible from that which we know. And this is like a true unknown is something that we cannot perceive. It's something that is completely outside the realms of our five senses. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't hear it. So the true unknowns are the final frontier for humanity. It has been said once that the sea was the final frontier, and then it was said that space was the final frontier. Well, I say the unknown dimensions of reality is truly the final frontier, because we can see space. I mean, it's out there. We can see so far into space that we have an idea of how old the universe is. And that is just a guess in our minds, and it's probably wildly inaccurate, but we have a guesstimate that the universe is anywhere from 13 to 14 billion years old, because that's how far it stretches across in light years. And now, there's a lot more to the age of the universe than just that. We can get into that another day. But, I mean, we can see that. We can see so far into the universe that now we know how big it is, if not how old it is, based on its size. And it's all a mathematical estimate, but still something that we saw when we use fucking telescopes and computers to gain data on something that is perceivable. So, I mean, that space is not the final frontier, even though it's fucking 14 billion miles wide, and probably that, I mean, just that amount of space alone would probably be impossible to ever explore, because, like, the amount of time it would take to explore space, the whole universe would have expanded another 14 billion light years, and then it would just be this exponential impossible task. You couldn't explore the known universe. So, like, that being said, it's still not the final frontier, because there's more to it than just the known. There is the unknown universe. There is that which we cannot perceive. So my question is, how big or how old is the unknown universe? And we don't really have an answer to this question. It's one of those unanswerable quandaries that really kind of makes your brain hurt, frustrates you, because like me personally, I want to know. I want an answer to that question. It's like, how old is the unknown? Where is the unknown? How big is the unknown? Like, what is it? What are all the unknowns? And it's like, those are the things that we may never be able to perceive because we do not have the ability to. So it's like, the unknown universe could be the true infinite space of all of reality. When they say that the universe and the cosmos is infinite, I mean, that could be the unknown that they're referring to. I mean, the known universe could just be one small, tiny thing. I mean, it's like just one teeny, itty-bitty piece that we're able to perceive, and all the unknown things just go on and on and on forever and ever and ever. And it's like, I've heard infinity described as a repetition, wherein, like, I'm standing here in a kitchen, and then that is on a planet, in a solar system, in a galaxy, in a quadrant, in a universe that's just one teeny tiny atom, in another universe that's of my dick, of another me, standing in another kitchen, on another planet, in another solar system, in another galaxy, in another universe, in another atom of another me, in another kitchen of another dick, in another fucking... It just goes on and on and on in this repetitive sort of, this fractal pattern. But, like, we have, like... I mean, I suppose it could be said that that is the shape of the universe. There may be infinity may exist in that form in this universe, where it just keeps going on and on, in that repetitive nature, where it just keeps repeating the same form in larger and larger forms and smaller forms. But it could also be a sense that it never repeats at all. That the true infinity is that it keeps going on and on forever, infinitely, and everything is different. Like, every single space section, moment in time, and all of space is all unique and different, can't be repeated. It isn't it isn't copied. It is all unique in its own individuality, like the moments in time, every particle, every individual, every phenomena. And I mean, that's truly mind-boggling when you think about it. Like, so the whole infinity of the universe is this ever-changing uniqueness where every single little thing that happens is all, for the first time, never happened before, it won't ever happen again, and it won't ever all be cataloged by our power of perception. Like, we may be able to discover some of the phenomena that occurs in our universe, but we'll never be able to know it all. And I mean, this is a conundrum because we're designed to learn things. So it's like, when we use the human individual, we're going around, and like, my theory has always been that we're blobs on a rock. I mean, you'll hear me talk about this like many, many times. For years now I've been saying that shit, that we're just blobs on a rock, running around, checking shit out. And I mean, that's a very slanged out layman's term version, and what I mean by that is that, like, we're just meat and flesh. I mean, like, I do believe in a soul, we're sentient and consciousness or energy or something like that. Like, there's something greater than the physical part of it, but on a physical level, we're just meat and bone, running around on a giant rock, looking at stuff and doing things with what we look at. Well, that's all we're doing. Like, if you were a super higher intelligence looking down at us, that's all you would see. And I'm not just talking about people, I'm talking about, like, all the living beings. Like, the people, the animals, the plants, the trees. Like, we're just these blobs, sort of, just running around on this rock. Excluding the trees, of course, they don't run. But, well, I mean, all plants, they don't run. But, it, like, just, we're just here on this rock, not really serving any purpose. And then when you get down to the human species, I mean, we're, like, programmed to know things. Our consciousness is the ability to know information. I mean, the other species may know things too. They may have information capability, but I mean, like, we as people, we go further. We catalog, we write things down. We try to learn as much as possible and record it all somewhere. So it's like, if our function is to know, why do we exist in a universe where there is truly an infinite amount of unknowables? Like, there's a finite amount of information that we're going to be able to know in all of our existence. Whether human beings exist for 500,000 years, 500 million years, or 5 years. Like, if we all die out 5 years from now, 5 days from now, 5 seconds from now, like, I mean, there's just a finite amount of information that we were able to catalog and know of. Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason? Why this information? Why this spot? Why here? Why are we here knowing things, and only this small, teeny tiny amount of knowledge can be gained? Like, there's all these unknowns out there. Unknown moments, unknown particle forms, unknown universal phenomena. I mean, there may be parts of space that are shaped completely different than anything we've ever seen before. All the way down to the quantum level. Like, it could go so far out that, like, outside the realm of the perceivable universe, there may be something other than atoms building up the makeup of everything. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine a universe that wasn't made of atoms? Molecules. Rocks, planets, galaxies, like, none of that. It's all completely different. Can you imagine that? I don't think we'd never be able to know. We would never be able to know. We would also never be able to not know. I mean, the idea of the unknowns is this thing that's like, the only way we could perceive it is to disprove it. Like, we couldn't know of it, but we could prove that it's not there. That's all we can technically do. And that in and of itself would be a challenge. I mean, trying to disprove the unknowns, like, if you're out there trying to disprove something, you don't even know what it is. Like you're testing for what? What would it be? How would you disprove an unknown? It's unknown. I mean, that truly is infinity when you think about unknowns. In like a universal sense, in the cosmic sense, that which is truly and forever unknown. That's infinite. That goes far beyond like anything even our mind is capable of imagining. Unless you're on like heavy, heavy, heavy doses of psychedelics.